Okay, we're live. So, hello everyone, welcome back to 101 Great Goals for a live stream of the transfer deadline day. Of course, one of the biggest days in the footballing calendar where clubs rapidly scramble to find their players that are going to take them forward this season. And for some clubs, it's such a painful day and a panic buying day as well. So, live streaming, there's been some confirmed transfers already today and there's some rumours going in further. But I'm delighted to be joined by Jess from She Knows Arsenal, Arsenal fan, and it's a big day for Arsenal as well. Lots of rumours of outgoings and incomings as well. Jess, thank you so much for joining us today. We've got to talk about Arsenal, haven't we? I mean, where are you at today with how Arsenal have handled their transfer business? Because they've spent big, but have they had a good window?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a little bit of rival tax there where a lot of rivals will kind of say, well, we spent 150 million and we haven't improved anything. I tend to think we have improved. Some of the players that we brought in are highly they're looked at very highly, and they're obviously not for the now, they're for the future, so we won't actually know how good they're going to be. But I would say from a profile perspective, we've done a good job, especially because we know not being in Europe is going to change the types of players that you're able to attract. And even though we're Arsenal Football Club, it's still it's the same for us. You know, we're not as attractive as we were when we were in Champions League or in Europa League. So definitely the strategy around getting young players between the age of 21 and 24 with a lot of upside is a very, very good strategy, in my opinion. My issue mostly with the window is the way that the funds have been allocated and the priorities of the club. I think all of us went into this transfer window thinking midfield was the main position that we needed to improve. You have a Thomas Partey who, up until this point, has been a little bit, I would say, unreliable in terms of his availability, right? Then you have Granit
Mm-hmm.
Xhaka as somebody that I think was somebody we definitely needed to move on from. El Neni, not up to the standard, and then we brought in Lakanga. We needed a starting central midfielder, and we chose not to get that. You could probably swallow that if we didn't think we had the money. But clearly we did because we spent
Mm-hmm.
50 on Ben White, 25 on Aaron Ramsdale. So priorities, not good. Profiles, okay. We got the right back in, which I don't really know how good he actually is, but from a profile perspective, it makes a lot of sense. We won't really know until we see them all out there on the pitch, but I think without the midfielder, I would, if I had to give the window a grade, I would have to say a six. You know, it's just not
Mm-hmm.
good enough in terms of the midfield.
Yeah, 100%. And looking at it from an Arsenal perspective as well, you've said you're giving it a six in terms of how the transfer window's gone. Where are you at then with outgoings? Because there's obviously a big story was Ainsley Maitland-Niles, who isn't playing, isn't in Arteta's plans at the moment. But his move to Everton or a bid from Everton was rejected. I mean, it just seems like it's not a very happy club at the moment. He took to Instagram, even atted the club and said that he wants to just play where he knows he's going to play and he's going to be appreciated. So where does it stand on the way that the club's actually being run from a fan's perspective then? Because it doesn't seem a happy bunch.
Well, it's not a good look, you know, when players are desperately trying to get out. You know, I think from what Ainsley did, I would say that he desperately wants out. We know Bellerin took a pay cut to leave, as well as Willian. You know, so there are players that really want out, and that doesn't make me feel good as a fan because it's like, well, why don't they want to be here? Even if I have questions around whether they're good enough or not, I would prefer players to want to be at Arsenal, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a weird one. I think with things that how things have went with certain young players, Ainsley Maitland-Niles, Torreira, Guendouzi, and Saliba, I think I'm sensing a pattern here of the way that we deal with players that color outside the lines doesn't make me have a lot of confidence in the management. I just feel for a club that has owners that are not willing to just spend. You know, they do spend, but not to the level of obviously Man City and Chelsea. So the young players that we have are assets, and I think there's an issue with value destruction. You know, looking attractive for young players to come. It's just we are so heavy-handed in the way that we deal with things, and I don't think Ainsley. I think he was immature in the way that he handled it. But we're the grown-ups in the room. we should be able to manage players well enough that they don't get to this place where they're going onto Instagram and Twitter and making their voices heard in that way. And it's the same with Saliba and Guendouzi. There's been these similar things where you can look at it and say, well, these are just bad eggs, but ultimately, how did we get here? So I'm looking at management like, do we have the right people in place to manage this young team and get this project going? Love Project Youth, not really convinced by the people running it. That's kind of where I stand.
So does that include Mikel Arteta there? I know a lot of the frustration's gone towards Edu and people higher up at the club, but where do you stand on Mikel Arteta? And just before we get into it as well, everyone who is watching, how do you feel your transfer window's gone? Let us know in the comments, who do you want to sign? And we'll get onto the rumours a little bit later. But Jess, first, Edu, and in particular Arteta, where are you with him? Obviously, Man City fan, loved him at Man City. He's gone up to management level. Does seem like he's a little bit out of his depth.
Yeah, I would say that I feel like that's an understatement. It's one of those where I feel like I know that we want it to work, but it's not the biggest deal in the world if it doesn't, if we have built the structure correctly. If this project is built around Arteta and him being here, we've made a huge mistake. Because the idea that a young manager that's never managed before was going to be a success at a declining club as big as Arsenal was always a small percentage of it working. We wanted it to work, but it's not. It's clearly not working for me. So, and I don't know how you could see it any other way. We've lost our first 3 games, and the way that we've lost them, I mean, 9 goals against, no goals for, never looked like scoring. One of those was Brentford, and even without key players, we should be able to put up a fight. I mean, he's out of his depth, and we have a easier run of games. I wouldn't say super easy, but it would be nice if a new manager could come in and get those games under his belt, kind of like Tuchel has. But we know how the Arsenal hierarchy is going to be. They're going to drag their feet and wait a little bit longer. There's no precedent for a young manager like Arteta losing his first 3 games, being in 20th place, and getting into Europe. So I think it's good idea, bad execution, and I'm of the mindset of fail fast, and 18 months is long enough for me to know if I'm not sure 100% that he's good, then why should we keep him? I mean, I don't think anybody definitively could say Mikel Arteta is a good manager. So, and that's not personal. It's just, this is Arsenal in decline. Like, we need to make a decision.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%, 100%. Ajay says, 5 out of 10, spent too much on backups, weak centre mid options and failure to get rid of Deadwood. But then he goes on to say, 10 out of 10 if Edu and Arteta get sacked tonight. So I think we know which side Ajay's on. And of course, it is transfer deadline day. Which players do you want your club to sign? Next up, then, we'll move a little bit away from Arsenal then, Jess, just for now. And we'll talk about a big one that has happened yesterday. Of course, it is Cristiano Ronaldo, the Ronaldo effect. And as we're both not Manchester United fans, maybe we don't think he'll be any good, but of course it's Cristiano Ronaldo. Comes back to Manchester United. First of all, is it good for the Premier League? I've got the Ronaldo effect up there. A huge, huge player with a massive following because he is literally probably one of the best, if not the best player to ever play the game. I'm not going to get into the Messi and Ronaldo debate right now. But he comes back into Manchester United. Some people say 36, but do you think it's a good move?
Do I think it's a good move? I mean, Manchester United are known for paying wages that other teams are just not willing to pay. So, I mean, is it a good move? I think so. Even though I'm like 36 years old, 2-year deal, astronomical wages, they still got him for a very small fee for somebody of his caliber. And it's Cristiano Ronaldo, one of the best players to ever play the game. So you have to keep it all in perspective. And I just think with the type of sponsorships, the amount of money that they're going to be able to bring in for that, I mean, just alone having Cristiano Ronaldo wear your shirt makes a huge difference, doesn't it? So I do think it's a good move for Manchester United, who need to push to win the title. I think at this point, Ollie's been here for 3 seasons now or so. Second place, the next step is to make a true title challenge. And I don't know how Cristiano Ronaldo doesn't do that for you, regardless if you have McTominay and Fred in your midfield, which is what I think is funny. If Manchester United fans are using that as an excuse why you shouldn't be winning the league, you still should. And I think it is a good move for Manchester United and where they are right now. And I'm not surprised that Sir Alex Ferguson put a kibosh on him going to City, because he was never going to allow that to happen, was he?
He was never going, was he? I got sucked in as well. I got sucked in. I was so annoyed about it because looking back at it now, why did we think he was going to Manchester City? He just wasn't, was he? He just never
No.
was. The way I see it, it was probably United didn't want him, and he said, "All right, then, watch what I'll do now." And then, as the rumours start circulating, United get sucked in. £460,000 a week, like you said, astronomical wages, but even for a 36-year-old who scored 30 goals plus over the last 2 seasons for Juventus, I think just from a mentality point of view, he just brings such a difference and such a change to Man United. And it's such a shame that he's done it, really, because I was enjoying Manchester United not being as good as us. But I think
Yeah.
not that Ronaldo brings that ultimate. He just elevates them mentality wise to a new level. But I like what you're saying about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. It's a big season for him, isn't it? Because the pressure's there. Like you say, you can't just say, look, we've not got a CDM, because every other area of the pitch, they've got world-class players now. So do you see that being a problem for Ole? Do you think he could be the man for Manchester United? Or are you a little bit on the fence?
I mean, I don't think he's the man long term that's going to get them to where they expect to be. Manchester United expect to be winning the Premier League, winning, every trophy possible, including Champions League. And I think from a tournament or a club perspective, or a cup perspective, he really stutters in cup competitions. I think that's where he makes his biggest mistakes, because I think he's risk adverse and he likes to play it safe. And when you get into the latter stages of those cups, you need to be able to take risks, and he doesn't do that. But when it comes to the Premier League, Manchester United are a very good team in the Premier League. They know how to put away the small teams and be competitive against the bigger teams. So I would expect him to be as close to Chelsea and Man City, if not beating them, because I think there's more pressure on Man City to win Champions League and more pressure on Chelsea to keep Champions League. So there's no pressure on them really to win that. So they need to be really competitive in the Premier League. They also probably need to win a FA Cup or something like that as well. He hasn't won a trophy since he's been here, so tons of pressure on him. Wouldn't expect them to win Champions League, but if they're nowhere near it, in the final days of the Premier League, they really need to look at that. There's some very good managers available that I think United could use, to take them to the next step.
Well, Mikel Arteta could be available soon, couldn't he? So he could be the one to take United forward.
Oh my goodness. I think after this, if Mikel gets sacked, he will probably want to take a long vacation.
Yeah, he's welcome back at City anyway. Him and Pep are good friends. But
Yeah.
a deal that's gone through as well. Ademola Lookman has just joined Leicester City. He was good for Fulham last season and a very bright spark. He was good at Everton as well. He's shown glimpses of that for RB Leipzig. Do you think that's a good deal for Leicester? Because looking at the face of it, it could really strengthen the depth of their squad as well.
I think Leicester has done a really good job of filling gaps in their squad that have kept them from being able to get top four. I think they're always kind of that team that probably should be getting top four based on their performances, but just fall away. And it's usually due to injuries to key players. Bringing in Patson Daka and Sumare will solidify them when the Vardys get injured, the Ndidis get injured. And this is also going to help them. I think they tried with Senges under last season. He didn't really hit the mark. So bringing in somebody who knows the league will be good cover for Harvey Barnes and Aozi Perez. So good move for them. What they really needed was depth. And I like the way that they've attacked that. Unlike maybe if you look at somebody like a Liverpool, who's had injury issues but haven't really plugged those gaps. So I have Leicester in as a dark horse for top four, and I think their business has been impeccable this transfer window.
Yeah, when you look at Leicester, then obviously I'm looking at it from an Arsenal perspective. Whilst we've got you on, is it painful to see how well Leicester are being run at the moment compared to Arsenal? I know it's a bit of that you couldn't even fathom that years ago, but it does seem like Leicester are on the up and Arsenal are on the decline.
Yeah, I mean it happened originally with Man City, to be honest. This is not the first team to have caught us up. You guys were first because you're a Man City fan. And so seeing
Yeah.
that was like, wow, we're really being replaced by Man City, a well-run club, but you guys are quite different. Leicester is more of an Arsenal model. I think it's kind of what Arsenal fans could see us doing, but we're not doing, you know? And I think if Leicester can hold on to some of their better players, it's really going to be scary. Holding on to Madison, holding on to Tielemans is really the difference. So it is difficult to watch. I do think some of the business that we've done, like bringing in Lakanga and Tavares, has been really Leicester-like. But then when you look at the Ben Whites and the Ramsdales, who I think are right profile but not right price and not right priority, we're still missing a trick. So yeah, I would like to replace who's running Leicester, with who we have, like to just switch it around. We're not going to get that, but Leicester's really well run, and it's just so difficult for Arsenal to compete because we're not managed well.
Yeah, and it it does seem like it's just been a domino effect for years at Arsenal as well. I mean, you say Lokonga came in, and I was quite impressed with Lokonga actually. He's looked very, very good since he's come in as well, so that's a positive bonus. Just looking at the Ramsdale signing then, Leno obviously he's starting the Premier League games at the moment. For that price, when Emi Martinez left for less than that, is that a perfect scenario, an example for you of what's going wrong at Arsenal?
Well, I mean, for me, I like to add context, and I just feel like when you have two number one goalkeepers telling you that they want to be number one, that's basically what happened. Emmy wanted to be number one, and Leno also wanted to be number one. Emmy wanted to know for sure he was going to be that. He didn't want a competitive scenario, which is what Arsenal wanted, and because of that, we ended up selling him. He was definitely the better goalkeeper. I would never sit here and say that I think Leno is better because I don't. I just think when you're in a situation where somebody wants to know definitively that they're going to be number one and you're loyal to Leno, who up until that point, we have to be honest as Arsenal fans, have been one of our best players in the last 2 seasons, it's a difficult situation to be in. What I don't like is that I don't feel like we got the commitment from Leno that we should have gotten, a new deal. If we were going to send Emmy away, we should have said, Leno will make you number one if you sign a new deal. Now has 2 years left, and we've now spent 25 million on Ramsdale to replace Emmy. It's one of those where I understand what the club was trying to do, but if you weren't going to get commitment from Leno, which I don't think we actually have, then why? It's a weird one for me. Ramsdale, don't agree with he's the worst goalkeeper I've ever seen in the world because he got relegated a couple times. Last time I checked, Maguire got relegated like 4 times. So that doesn't necessarily mean you're a bad player. But the price, when you could have gotten a midfielder, and the fact that we let Emmy go and Leno doesn't look as committed to the club as we had hoped, it screams bad practice to me. But I understand why the club did it. It's just they didn't have enough foresight to see kind of what they're going to inevitably have to do. And then you have somebody like Runnerson as well hanging around who we can't forget is not up to the standard to play in the Premier League. Let's be real.
I remember that game. I remember. Fortunate for us. Fortunate for us. But
Runnerson, horrible.
A train wreck. An absolute train wreck. Dominic says Arsenal's board is the problem. Huge news just breaking now. SAUL Niguez has agreed to join Chelsea. Fabrizio Romano, here we go. It's all done. And it's actually on a loan with an option to buy as well. So SAUL has joined Chelsea. Jess, that's not what you want to hear as an Arsenal fan, is it? I mean, Chelsea have done so well, haven't they? Since Thomas Tuchel's come in. Arguably, even the transfers they brought in before he came in were solid. And that just adds to that unbelievable midfield that they've already got. What a huge signing that is for Chelsea.
I'm just sitting here like, do they actually need this signing? But because I don't really know. I don't get it. Not like I don't understand why you wouldn't want Saul Niguez, but I'm like, do they actually need that? But that's just the Chelsea way, right? Even though they may have some good options already, they just want to improve. I think it's weird on Saul Niguez's part, like a loan with an option, that's not really solidifying your future, but maybe he feels like there's an opportunity for him to stay long term. Good signing, very much a Chelsea thing to do. But for me, because we're not really ran that way, I don't really look at it like wow, I wish we could do that. Again, I'm more looking at the Leicesters and the Liverpools and the way that they do business and thinking that's what we need to be doing. Chelsea's on a whole nother planet. So just like Manchester City, I don't expect us to do that. But really good player, will definitely add depth. Wondering who of Conte or Jorginho is going to fall off. You know, who is going to be the guy that's going to make way for SAUL. But yeah, good signing, and they didn't have to really pay anything but a loan fee. Wow.
Yeah, just a 5 million euro loan fee. Obviously, Sal really wanted to leave Atletico Madrid, and they're just sorting the final details now. But for me, depth is the key word that you've just mentioned. I think something that Manchester City do so well. If you're going to challenge on all fronts, which is obviously what Chelsea and Roman Abramovich want to do, I just think you've got to have that depth, and he brings that perfectly. I think Jorginho will probably the one who drops out. Obviously, European Player of the Year, though it's just so hard to say which one drops out because Kante is just so good. But yeah, in terms of depth, I think it's a fantastic signing for Chelsea. So Saul joins Chelsea, which is breaking news now. Fabrizio Romano has just confirmed that. The way that I wanted to go with it, just from an Arsenal point of view, I understand you don't look at Chelsea and you think you want their model, but in terms of Chelsea buying and the gap's getting bigger, isn't it? And in terms of Tottenham as well, I think a perfect example of that was Emerson Royal joining Tottenham. Well, he's having a medical at the moment and not joining Arsenal. Is it a sucker punch? It just seems like I'm being really mean to you and just talking about Arsenal in a bad way at the moment. But can it be seen that Tottenham are bigger than Arsenal? Does that hurt now to see players doing that?
Again, got to add some context here. I think the media has been very heavy handed in the way that they've reported a lot of these moments of Arsenal falling down or whatever. The reality is that we offered Hector Bellerin plus 10 for Emerson, and they wanted 20 plus Bellerin, and we didn't offer that. So is that really choosing Spurs over us? Not really, because we didn't actually agree a fee. If we had both agreed, us and Spurs, and then he chose, that would make more sense. But it gets you clicks to say that Spurs are a bigger club because Emerson would choose. What I've heard or kind of saw in terms of Emerson is that 30 million for a player of his caliber at the moment is a risk because he's not really a $30 million player. With Tomiyasu, he's a steal at 20 million. And when you look at the statistics of both players, I can see why Spurs and Arsenal were interested in both. But Tomiyasu is a better defender, so I'm going to back my club just a little bit on this one because I know how the media likes to portray Arsenal as just this train wreck, and we can be that. But Emerson did not choose Spurs over Arsenal. We never agreed on anything. So we'll see in the end of the day when Tomiyasu and Emerson, hit the pitch and show which one's better and who got the better deal. But ultimately, I'm happy with this one, and I don't really view it as he chose, Spurs over us. I just don't think we got the deal over the line.
Interesting that you say that then in terms of the media. Do you think, because I think you're massively right, I think that Arsenal sells at the moment, doesn't it? Because everyone likes to make fun of things and Arsenal seems to be the one that's bearing the brunt of that at the moment. There's some truth in things and there isn't. But do you think that the media pounces on anything to do with Arsenal because, like you say, it sells?
Yeah, I do. And I think the Arsenal fan base eat it up. I think we're one of the biggest online fan bases. You can really see that by the amount of podcasters and content creators that we have from an Arsenal perspective. We're bigger than anybody in terms of that. And we drive a lot of traffic and clicks to certain media outlets. And I'm not saying that they're doing anything wrong. It's their job to get clicks. And Arsenal sells. It really, really does. And I just, from rivals, I expect rivals to make fun of us and banter us. That's fine. But from a fan base perspective, sometimes you just have to look at where this information is coming from, and do you actually believe it? I know we want to believe the worst because we're in a bad way, but, I like to sit there and look at context, and Emerson's a really good player, and I would have loved him at Arsenal, but he didn't actually choose Spurs over us, so I'm not going to use that to beat, the club down more. Will I be upset if Tomiyasu's not a good player? Yeah, that's more on us. But the Emerson thing, I just got to let that go because I know what the media tries to do, and that's their job.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Just in terms of signing of the window then, it's been the bonkers, hasn't it? I don't remember a transfer window quite like this one. Ronaldo's move. Lionel Messi has left Barcelona. Kylian Mbappe was trying to force a move to Real Madrid. It's just been crazy.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen a transfer window like it?
I haven't. If you would have told me that Sergio Ramos and Messi would be at PSG and Cristiano Ronaldo would be back at Manchester United. I mean, we haven't even talked about Sancho and Grealish. And I mean, there's been so many different transfers. I mean, it's been insane.
Yeah, it has, hasn't it? And Aguero to Barcelona, Depay to Barcelona. It's been immense. But if I had to press you and say which is your signing of the window, which way would you go with it? I know there's so many.
Oh, it's so hard to say. I mean, because at this point, I think we're talking about in terms of how it made us feel and how shocking it was and was it exciting because we haven't actually seen a lot of evidence of what they'll be able to contribute on the pitch just yet, right?
Hmm.
I would say Messi to PSG has got to be the one because it came out of kind of nowhere, and although I think Ronaldo is a big deal as well, he's been there before, and I don't think we ever really imagined Leo Messi in a different kit other than the Barcelona one. You see somebody like Aguero, who I think went to play with Messi and now he's there without him. And just the idea of Neymar and Messi back together with Mbappe, who looks like he might be staying, that just is so exciting to me. So I think it has to be Messi to PSG, but obviously, like even like special mention to Lukaku to Chelsea. I think that's a good signing that's going to go under the radar just because Messi and Ronaldo have moved teams. So it's crazy, but I have to give it to Messi.
Yeah, I have to. I was going to say Grealish now, wasn't I? I have to agree with Lionel Messi. Like you say, we never thought he was going to leave Barcelona. The fact that he has gone to PSG when we all thought he was staying was just so crazy because I got caught up. I got done again last year. I thought he was coming to us, and I thought Ronaldo was coming to us this year. I don't read it anymore. But yeah, Lionel Messi going to PSG just for league earn and just for PSG's stature, I just think it's
Mm-hmm.
absolutely huge. And what he brings to that team is massive. And I can't wait to see him at a new challenge and playing for a different club. But that football fan inside of me really wanted him to stay at Barcelona.
Yeah.
You say again with Lukaku, signings in the Premier League have been incredible. We'll get on to Grealish in a minute, but Lukaku to Chelsea, he is now the player who's had the highest amount of transfer fees in history to his name. And I think he warrants it as well. Do you think he's got a little bit of a point to prove with Manchester United with that stint that he had? Or, I mean, for me, he's proven it anyway, but he's an unbelievable signing for Chelsea.
Yeah, I do think he has something to prove because he's definitely somebody that went to a different league to prove that he could do it, improve his game, develop. And so the key point to that is coming back to the Premier League and actually doing it there. And he's spoken about it. You know, he's very open about wanting this challenge and to prove people wrong. And I think he's going to do it. I mean, I think he'll take some time adapting. Serie A is not the same as the Premier League, but I fully expect him to be a star in the league. And yeah, I think that was a really, really good signing from Chelsea. I know they wanted Holland, and Holland is obviously a superstar, and we'll definitely see where he goes next summer. It's going to be interesting. But Lukaku is just up there, top three strikers on form in the world at the moment. So yeah, I love Lukaku, and I think he's an excellent signing for Chelsea.
No, I have to agree. I think he's improved his game so much as well. And I think he gets slept on by so many Premier League fans who say he hasn't got a good touch. But he's so good at his hold up play and he's
Yeah.
incredibly powerful up front as well. Yeah, I think I wanted him, if I'm being honest. I really wanted Lukaku at Manchester
Mm.
City. Whether he would have suited Pep's game, I'm not really bothered. We need a striker. So I would have loved him at Manchester City. City getting in Jack Grealish, £100 million. From a Manchester City point of view, I was really happy that we got him because I think everyone thought that we'd be getting a striker in and maybe Bernardo Silva would be on the way out because he didn't seem content. But now Bernardo Silva's staying and we've not got a striker. What did you make of Jack Grealish signing for City? I mean, there was heavy links with Arsenal in January, wasn't there? So did you ever expect him to be at the Emirates or did you think 100 million was right for him?
I didn't think we would ever get him. Um, there's just certain players that I feel like are out of your league at a certain point, and he wants to win trophies. There's no reason for him to leave Aston Villa for Arsenal at this point in time. Even if the wages may be better, maybe if the stadium is better, maybe if, the stature of the club is better, he needs to go somewhere where he's going to win trophies, and that's at Man City. So I never really thought that he'd end up at the Emirates. 100 million for Jack Grealish, I think, is about what he's worth to Aston Villa, which is important. For Aston Villa, he's worth that because they had to bring in like 2 players or 3 players to make up for what he was contributing. And Man City was going to pay it. I think the reality is that English tax is a real thing, and you have to pay a little bit more for those players. He's in the English national team that got to the final of the Euros. All of that comes into play. He's a prime age player, 25 years old, so 100 million in this market, I'm not even blinking at it because that's just what it is. We paid 50 million for Ben White. It's just a lay of the land at the moment. Now, you definitely needed a striker, and I think it would have been better to go for Kane first, and then if you had missed out on Grealish, that would have made a little bit more sense. But Jack Grealish is going to be an excellent player under Pep, in my opinion. I think it'll take him some time to get used to not being so free, and he might have some Mahrez, teething issues. Mahrez coming from Leicester needed to get used to the system, but ultimately I think he's a good signing for you guys. He may go under the radar just because there's some other bigger ones, but a good signing. And Pep he's never really needed a striker. He's always wanted to play without one anyway. I think you guys will be fine.
Yeah, Pep's arrogant as well. He'll just say, I never wanted a striker, and he'll just win something. It will win the 5th Carabao Cup without a striker. That's what he wants, I think. He loves the Carabao Cup. Just in terms of Grealish then as well, and Manchester City as a whole, where do you come at it with how rival teams have been talking about Manchester City in terms of how much money they spend and whether they're ruining football? Because I think there was a big case to be made, but we've seen big clubs like United spending a lot of money as well. Where do you come at it from an Arsenal perspective and just a football perspective in general?
Well, I think it's a tough one for me because ruining football to me is harsh because the league is becoming more competitive, and that's a good thing ultimately. I think for a football perspective, I want the league to be more competitive, even if I'm an Arsenal fan. So ruining football is harsh. It really is. And the money that Man City and Chelsea and teams like that, Man United, bring into the league, it trickles down to everybody else. You get better players in the league. It's better for the league. Ruining football, that's just so harsh, and I think if we Arsenal fans, if we need to be real, if somebody like your owners came around and wanted to own Arsenal, we would probably want that, because of where we are. So Man United spend just as much. I think they just say you guys are ruining football because of noisy neighbors. You're not really supposed to be here. It's a little bit of rivalry, a little bit of jealousy. But ultimately, am I upset that the Ronaldos are coming to this league, the Lukakus are coming to this league because it's the best league because of the money being spent? No, because I'm a football fan. So not ruining football. It's just the level has gone up and the competition, it's just going to be more difficult to compete. But this is the Super League, isn't it? I mean, that's what it kind of feels like. The Premier League is a Super League, and that's just how it manifested itself because, hey, the other leagues can't compete with it. I think it's a natural progression, but you're not really ruining it.
Yeah, 100%. And the point I always come back to as well is that I see Manchester, and because I'm from Manchester, I see what's happened to East Manchester since they've come in. They've transformed it, and they really have changed people's lives. And outside of the footballing factor, what they have done around that area, unbelievable. LCGW says, no, Pep cannot develop players. Pep only works with stars. I have to massively disagree with that. I just think you can see that players come on leaps and bounds just playing with Pep Guardiola. And where do you stand on that, Jess?
I think people are so harsh on Pep. I think these narratives are built up and people start... not saying LCGW is saying this, but I just feel like a lot of these same narratives are parroted around that Pep needs a super team in order to win things. And I think he does need a certain caliber of player to play the to have a certain type of IQ to play the intricate type of football that Man City, the Barcelonas, and Bayern Munich when he was there play. So it's a requirement for the system that he wants to play. It's not so much that he cannot develop players. Some players have gotten better under his stewardship. They just happen to already be good. So I tend to push back on that just a little bit. I think Pep is a very, very good coach, a very, very good manager, up there, top level, up there with Klopp. And it's just something that people say because they're jealous. Like, I just feel like, it's just a little bit of that rivalry, like, oh, well, we have to figure out a way to say that Pep's no good when he clearly is.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. So if I can press you then finally, which club has had the best transfer window for you? I know, like you say, it's so hard to say because we've not seen much of them. But from a player caliber point of view, what they bring to the side, we'll go Premier League and then we'll go world because I feel like you might say PSG have had the best transfer window. So in the Premier League first, who do you think's had the best transfer window?
Man United by far. Man United by far. I mean, they missed out on the midfielder potentially. We don't know what could happen, but to get Ronaldo and Varane and Sancho for less than what I think we spent on all of our players, and we're talking Ronaldo, one of the best players to ever play the game, Varane, multiple Champions Leagues, and Sancho, one of the best young players on the planet. That's pretty good to me. Like, I can't fault that at all. That's a really good window for a club that has been synonymous with maybe being up there with Arsenal with bad business, and not really plugging holes and, taking the easy way out. So great window from them. I think they're up there. I would give a special mention to Leicester because I think they've quietly had a really good window that has plugged gaps that needed to be plugged, like very much so. So I would say Leicester, a little second place, but Manchester United by far because they should be up there winning the league with the team that they have. Like, no excuses. I really believe that.
I was going to quietly say Leicester, but I think people would say I've been biased not to go Manchester United. But Leicester have had a great one. Yannick Vestergaard, Ademola Lookman now coming in, Samare, what a transfer, and Daka as well. It's a great transfer window from them. Like you say, they've quietly gone about it. United's has been insane. It's been insane. It's been in your face and it's been insane. What they have done, yeah, fantastic. And Chelsea as well. I think Chelsea have had a really good window. I'm going to say Arsenal have had a decent window. I'm not going to lie. I think the players that you've brought in have been quite good. I know you say planning for the future. Brighton fans absolutely loved Ben White and they raved about him a lot. Tavares seems like a good player for the future. Lokonga, I've been really impressed with Lokonga in the games that you've lost. I think he's been a shining light as well. I'm going to go PSG have probably had the best transfer window. Would you echo that in terms of world football?
Yeah, I would say PSG. But what I would also say is that I don't think Barcelona has done that bad either, considering their financial situation. They've lost Messi, but they've been able to register, I think, all of the players that they wanted to bring in. Aguero, Depay, Dani Olmo, I think, is going there as well. So they've had a decent window as well. I think better than maybe Real Madrid has, which is they definitely need some work on their squad. So PSG, 100%, all those free signings, they're building a little super team. I think they're about to get Nuno Mendes as well, the left back, Portuguese left back. I mean, they're playing football manager at this point, with the way that they're doing things. But I think with Barcelona's issues financially, I think that they've been okay to kind of firm up their squad too. I didn't think they would get anything done, and they had some good free signing. I mean, Aguero on a free ain't bad, is it? Depay on a free ain't bad, is it? So yeah, I think PSG, but I think Barcelona did okay considering the circumstances.
I shed some tears when Aguero left. I'm not too proud to admit that one.
Yeah.
So just before we do leave, then Barcelona, you've mentioned Barcelona. I mean, from a world perspective, to see Barcelona in the situation that they're in right now, the mind boggles, doesn't it? Because they're such a financial powerhouse in terms of everything about the club.
Yeah, Barcelona is just one of those where they need to go through the inevitable rebuild, and it's unfortunate that they've been ran so poorly, and that's something that they definitely need to look at. But I still think that they have some good young players that could help them out of this hole, and they just have to look at the next chapter. I look at even like Juventus, who I think is in a worse position than Barcelona, because I don't think they have the same caliber as young players and talent even coming through their academy. So Barcelona's they're in the mud at the minute because you lose Messi and then you have all the financial issues come out and come to light. But I mean, they even had really senior players come out and take pay cuts just so that they could, register players, and they will work together to get that club back to where it needs to be. And so I'm not really worried about Barcelona, but the rebuild was coming, wasn't it? Even with Messi there, they were already kind of falling apart. But Pedri, Olmo, they have some really good young players. Like, I think they're going to be fine. It's just going to take a while.
Perfect. I think that is that for our deadline day stream. Hope everyone enjoys staying up till 11 o'clock to see if there are any ingoings or outgoings at your club. Jess, thank you so much for coming on as well here at 101 Great Goals. She knows Arsenal. Please go and check her out. Unbelievable. Thank you so much, Jess.
Thank you.
And yeah, perfect. So if you are new around here, please subscribe to 101 Great Goals. Check out our other content as well. And we'll be doing a few more streams like this as well. So thank you everyone for watching, and we'll see you next time.